Today, we're going to be talking about using Feathr to grow your audience, to reach new people through audience expansion campaigns. So let's go ahead and dive in. So I'm Hasty. I'm the Senior Product Marketing Manager here at Feathr. I spend a lot of time talking to Feathr users about how they're using the platform, sort of what's going right, what's going wrong, best practices, sort of like tactics that they're finding work for them. And these webinars are a great chance for me to sort of bring some of those insights to all of you. So whether you're a customer who already uses Feathr, kind of looking for some new ideas for campaigns, or you are not using Feathr yet, but you're considering it and sort of looking for a little bit of a deeper dive into how real users are utilizing the platform every day, this is for you. So with that, I will bring on my colleague Brock to introduce himself. He'll be joining me today.
Hello, my name is Brock. I'm a senior digital campaign strategist here at Feathr. And actually, I have kind of a dual role. So I work with clients on their behalf to fulfill their campaigns, develop strategies with them, and execute those strategies. And I'm also part of the pro strategist team, meaning another role that I have is working with clients on self-serve initiatives to help enable them to plan and execute their own strategies as well. So all in all, I think a good way of describing my job is just helping my clients achieve their goals.
Yeah, excited to have you on here. Brock has a lot of great insight on sort of what campaigns really look like since he's up in there every day. So he'll have some great customer examples to share and some great strategies and insights. So we'll get into all of that in just a few minutes. Just to kind of cover the agenda real quick. So we'll be sending out the slide deck as always and the recording after the webinar. So be on the lookout for that in your inbox. If you have any questions as we're going through the presentation, just drop them in the chat and we'll get to them as we can or at the end. So today we will be talking about why growing your community is so vital, especially in the nonprofit world. And then we'll get into some of the specific digital marketing campaigns that you can run in Feathr that make it really easy to kind of reach new people and grow your audience. And then we will dive into some real examples from Feathr users on awareness and acquisition campaigns. And I'll say this a few more times throughout the presentation, just as a reminder, but if at any point during the webinar you feel like you'd benefit from a deeper look at any of the features or the campaigns we're talking about, you kind of like what you're hearing, please drop a 1 in the chat and we'll reach out to you to give you a more personalized walkthrough of what you're looking at today. Even if you're a Feathr customer, feel free to drop a 1 and we'll connect you with your CSM. But if you are not a customer, but you're interested, drop a 1 and we will hit you up with a personalized demo. So to kick things off, I just wanted to ask kind of a little question here to get a bit of a breakdown of the room and see what people are focused on. So if you could drop in one or multiple of these options, what are you currently doing to reach new people and grow your audience? So you might be doing a couple or multiple of these things, but you know, are you not doing a lot in terms of acquisition? Are you focused more on retention or other things? Are you using events to kind of reach new people, social media, or digital advertising awareness campaigns, which is obviously the focus today. So that's what we want to get people doing. But or if there's anything else that you're doing, feel free to drop that in and specify that. Okay, seeing a lot of C and D. And some B, okay, some events, yep. Yeah, we got a good mix here. Often it's like everyone's saying the same thing, but this is cool. It's like everyone's doing kind of a different combination. Cool, cool. A radio, interesting. I've heard that from a few Feathr customers as well, that they either are doing some radio ads or previously did, and sometimes find that it's not as effective in terms of the kind of ROI, but hope it's working for you, Brandy. Awesome. Okay, well, feel free to keep dropping answers in. I'm going to keep going through. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about how to grow your audience and why it requires a specific kind of focus. And that is basically expansion campaigns. So today's nonprofit landscape is super competitive. There are 1.97 million nonprofits in the US today, and 1.48 million of those are 501c3s. So this is a super saturated market. There's tons of nonprofits out there that you're competing with. And so I think the takeaway here is that nonprofits have to start thinking about marketing as mission critical. So it's not just a nice to have, it's absolutely necessary. And it's also not a dirty word. I kind of want to spend a second talking about that because I think a lot of nonprofits tends to struggle with the idea of marketing because it can kind of seem like something that should belong solely to, the for-profit industry, or even for those who are convinced of the importance and the value of marketing and they've bought into it themselves. They can't always convince other people at their organization to provide the budget, or they can't always justify paying for the tools that are required to do good marketing. So I think the fact that people are so, distracted and they're pickier than ever about how they're willing to spend their time and their money just means that word of mouth and traditional marketing like direct mail and email even aren't enough to drive awareness about your organization. You have to do more, and that's where digital advertising comes in. So running awareness campaigns through digital advertising channels and kind of syncing that with all of the other types of marketing that you are doing is crucial for how nonprofits need to be thinking about growing their audience and growing their communities. So digital awareness campaigns, the cool thing is that they still let you do all of the stuff that you're doing with traditional marketing. So you can tell the story of your organization, you can explain the work you do and why it's important, and show people sort of how they fit into all of that. So whether it's that they would benefit professionally from joining your association, or that they could help somebody in need by making a donation, or even, if you're an art or a museum or an orchestra, that they would enjoy attending one of your concerts, one of your exhibits, one of your events. So this is a key part of marketing for nonprofits, regardless of what type of nonprofit you are. And what digital awareness campaigns allow you to do that traditional marketing campaigns don't, is to reach people in a way where they're actually guaranteed to notice you. So it's reaching people with ads where they're already scrolling. So whether that's on Facebook on their phone, or they're reading the news on their iPad, looking up recipes on their laptop, whatever it is, you're surrounding people with your message in the places where they already are. And so they're going to be more likely to kind of hear your message through all of the noise and click through, come to your site, learn more, become part of your community over time. And so, ultimately the takeaway is that you need to build up a community to have a community. So we all know that it's easier to retain an existing member than to get a new one, right? It's easier to get a loyal donor to give money than it is to acquire a new donor. But to keep them, you have to have them in the first place, which means putting in the work to kind of get that steady stream of new donors and new members and patrons who will stick around through those cultivation and engagement campaigns that you run later, and they'll end up becoming those kind of reliable, loyal people for your organization. Cool. Well, let's get into a few specific examples of audience expansion campaigns that you can run in Feathr. So we're going to start with geofencing. So mobile geofencing and historical geofencing let you serve ads to people based on their current or previous locations. So, for example, if you're looking for big ticket donors, you could target high income areas or golfing events, things like that, with ads about your cause. If you're looking for new members, you could geofence relevant industry events, competing events, universities if you're trying to reach younger people, corporate headquarters in your industry if you're trying to reach specific professionals, or any other kind of relevant locations to put your organization in front of prospects that are relevant to you. And you can get really creative with geofencing and with your targeting these campaigns, which is kind of cool. So, for example, if you're geofencing an event, you could target other places where event attendees might be spending time and might be able to see your ads. So like nearby hotels, restaurants, train stations, airports, things like that. And so it's cool. You can get kind of like strategic and creative about the places that you actually want to include in your geofilter. And then the main difference between historical geofencing and mobile geofencing in terms of setting up the campaigns in Feathr is that for historical geofencing, you're specifying a window in the past that you want to target. So for the best campaign results, we recommend, and Brock, you can correct me if you do something different here, but we recommend targeting between 1 and 3 months in the past. That's kind of like gives you ultimate or optimal results to kind of target more recent past, but you can go up to 3 months and still show up on people's radar if they were at that place. 3 months in the past. And so if you were to be, setting up a historical geofencing campaign today, for example, for an event that took place in December, this might look like targeting the event venue, nearby hotels or bars or whatever, for maybe like a 3 or 4 day window around when that event happened in December. So that's how geofencing works. Let's move on to search keyword campaigns. So this type of campaign lets you serve ads across the web to people who have searched for terms that you deem relevant. So note that this is different from the paid search campaigns that you might think of when you hear the phrase keyword search. So unlike Google Ads, which moves you higher up on the Google results page when someone is actively searching for a relevant term, Feathr, like search keyword campaigns in Feathr, let you reach people with display ads all over the web after they've searched for one of those keywords. And those two campaign types can actually go together. Google ad campaigns and search keyword campaigns can really complement each other. I'll get more into that a little bit later in the presentation. But as you can see on the slide, if you're, for example, if you're a cancer research organization looking for new donors, you'd want to show your ads to people who have a history of searching for relevant terms, right? So maybe cancer research, cancer donate, donate to cancer research. You can obviously put different permutations of those words, and those are basically your unique keywords. And you just simply upload a list of keywords that you want to target to Feathr. And we also have some resources and recommendations to kind of make the keyword selection process a little easier. And then with these campaigns, you can also add in geofilters to get more targeted with your keyword search campaigns. So if you're hosting an in-person event to raise money for your cause, you might want to focus your keyword search campaign on your local area, right? So people who are in your local area who are searching for relevant terms, they're more likely to attend because they're local. So you'd want to kind of limit the scope to those people. Cool. Next up is affinity targeting. So affinity campaigns let you tap into enormous audiences based on data that we have. So demographic and market industry data that Feathr has access to. So if you're a charity, for example, looking for some big ticket donors, you could target affluent audiences that have a history of donating to charity. Or if you're an association looking for, professionals in a specific medical field, you can filter for that specific medical field and reach thousands of new relevant prospective members or event attendees based on that. And one of the coolest parts of affinity campaigns is that you're getting immediate access to these new audiences without the need to build a large database of first-party data, such as web visits. So with retargeting, on the other hand, you have to have people visiting your website, and you're collecting that first-party data over time in order to serve ads to them when they leave. And of course, getting website traffic is always the goal. You want to, be focusing on that, but that can take some time to build up that audience. Whereas with affinity campaigns, you're just selecting from pre-vetted target groups that are built into Feathr based on our partnerships with ad networks. And this is just a great way to kind of get that new traffic to your site. So then you end up getting more of that first party data that you can use in future retargeting campaigns. And we'll get into that in a minute too. And then lookalike audience campaigns are similar to affinity targeting. They pull in third-party data to generate a new audience for you to target. But instead of you going in and selecting specific attributes or affiliations or affinities of the types of audiences that you want to target, you select what we call a group in your Feathr account. This is basically a segment of your audience that you're choosing. So it could be something like current members, past donors. You can get specific and select a group of people who visited your About Us page in the last 60 days, for example, or anyone who's visited your event page and shown interest in your event. And then Feathr then analyzes the online behavior of the people in that seed group that you've chosen, and then matches it to people who are statistically similar, which means that many of them would be probably a good fit for what you're offering, right? And these people are now a new audience that you can serve awareness ads to as they're scrolling on their devices online. Okay, and then I think this is our last campaign type. So in Feathr, we call this email mapping. You might have also heard it called CRM retargeting. That's another common name for it. This is basically a way of expanding your audience by serving ads to people whose email addresses you have, but who might not be opening your emails, might not be coming to your site. So with email mapping, you upload a list of emails, of email addresses to Feathr. So this might be a list of event attendees, prospective members, prospective donors, maybe even like a list of lapsed donors or lapsed members or past donors. who haven't engaged with you in a while. And then you're serving them ads as they're browsing the web, just like with retargeting and geofencing and other display ad campaigns. So they're seeing those ads where they are online. And the benefit here is that they don't need to have visited your site recently or ever, technically, to see these ads, since the campaign runs based on the person's email address and not their website activity. So yeah, this is another great one for kind of tapping into an audience where you have some information about them, but they're not engaging with you. And so they're not really part of your reachable audience, and you can kind of pull them into the fold and get them on your website. And then quick reminder here before I keep moving through, if any of these campaigns sound interesting to you, you're kind of liking what you're seeing, definitely drop a 1 in the chat for that personalized demo. And then, yeah, I wanted to kind of make a note about the other types of campaigns that are important to run alongside these awareness campaigns, right? So like I said earlier, you have to have members to retain members. You have to have donors in the first place to retain donors. So without the awareness campaigns to expand your audience, you don't have much to work with in terms of engagement and conversion, right? But it goes both ways. So just running expansion campaigns is obviously not enough. And you need to be sure that you're kind of continuing to engage with these new people that you're bringing in so they actually stick around and become part of your community. So while the focus today is on, types of expansion campaigns that you can run in Feathr, there are also plenty of campaign types that you can run in Feathr to kind of keep these new audience members engaged, drive them to convert, whether that's becoming a member, making a donation, attending your event, whatever the goal is for the conversion. And so without following up on all this new web traffic that you're getting through the expansion campaigns, without running retargeting campaigns, emailing them to kind of continue serving them, messaging, promoting your organization, promoting the benefits, or promoting your cause, people will drop off if you don't kind of keep up the good work. So, and then another benefit to running all of your marketing in a centralized platform like Feathr is that you can sort of see connections between your campaigns that you might otherwise miss. So on that note, I'm going to pass it over to Brock to kind of talk through an example of how data on your awareness campaigns can inform the strategy for other campaigns around engagement and conversion later down the funnel.
Great, thank you. So I distilled an entire series of campaigns into a 3-column table, so please excuse how messy it might seem. But I was running a flight with a client who is a media group. They create intellectual podcasts, and they wanted to improve their donations. So the ultimate goal of this flight was to improve donations, and we had an awareness, an engagement, and then finally a driving conversions kind of segment to these flights or these campaigns. So without having the awareness in here, I would have looked at the engagement and conversions and said, yeah, this looks fine. 0.3% click-through rate for the full website retargeting donation request is not the greatest, but it's okay. It's raising a little bit of a red flag, but it's not, not something that you should ring the alarm for. And having a decent click-through rate of 0.64, 0.82, I mean, those are pretty good click-through rates for donation, actual donation requests for people who are more highly engaged with the website. That's way down at the bottom. But when you include the awareness traffic in this analysis, you see a 3% click-through rate on our very first campaign, which is a search keyword campaign. This, in terms of like outbound display marketing, is an incredibly high click-through rate. And it kind of shifted the results in such a way, and also the affinity audience that we were running outperformed every other campaign besides the search keyword campaign. So this shifted the results and made us reevaluate how effective we were actually marketing people further down in the conversion funnel. So by having the success here, we were able to ask the question, why did we see success in these awareness campaigns and have lower engagement in the middle of the funnel and then a bump at the bottom of the funnel? After analyzing the ads, the click-through rates for the ads, the calls to action for those ads, we were able to really distill it down into a single message. And that's The sort of audience that this organization was looking for is a highly curious audience, a very intellectual audience. So running ads that engaged their curiosity in the awareness campaign drove such a large portion of our traffic. But it fell off somewhere in the middle of that engagement funnel because the ads no longer engaged that curiosity. By this point, they were aware of who this media group was, but we weren't trying uh, to to re-engage them in a way that that they found fulfilling to a degree. And then I think the bottom segments there, the drive conversions, had a boost because this is our like core user group, the people who are going back to the website over and over, who have been to the donation page, who have been to the about and the how to listen and a bunch of other pages on the website. So they are primed to make a donation, but by determining that the curiosity of this middle segment, the engagement segment, was somehow missing, then that can inform our ads moving forward. So the next question we're asking, of course, is how to re-engage them in a way that that brings back the magic of these awareness campaigns. And without having these awareness campaigns in the first place, well, first of all, we wouldn't have that traffic. But second of all, we wouldn't have been able to determine why specifically some other campaigns were underperforming. So I think this is a really cool way to showcase how these awareness campaigns, they serve their place in driving new traffic, but they also serve a strong role in developing a narrative for the strategy as a whole.
Yeah, no, this is a really cool example. And do you find that it's kind of just a matter of playing around with messaging on the CTA, kind of, maybe revisiting the messaging that was working in those initial campaigns and kind of bringing back some of that?
I think it's a matter of staying relevant to this audience because, in an episodic format, if you are not connecting to like one episode or two episodes in a row, then you might fall off and it won't be in your Spotify like suggested podcasts anymore. So I think that by re-engaging with new messaging surrounding what's next and keeping people wondering, how does this apply to me, is really the way to keep that audience engaged long term.
Cool. Yeah. Great insights here.
Thanks.
Awesome. Well, let's dive into some of those real audience expansion campaign examples. We'll talk through some of the strategies and results that some of our customers have seen running expansion campaigns and some kind of insights that come from that. So the first example that we're going to be looking at is the Second Harvest Food Bank of Southern Wisconsin. So their mission is to end hunger in the community and reduce waste through partnerships and collaboration. And the campaign we're going to be looking at is a series of donation campaigns that they ran over the course of 2023. And this includes some awareness campaigns, some engagement, and some conversion. We're going to be focusing specifically on the awareness campaigns that they ran, but I'll show some results at the end of this example in terms of like what they, the donations that they brought in from all of those campaigns combined. So this first example is the affinity targeting campaign that they ran. So you can see some of the ads here on the right, which I think are just really pretty ads, very engaging. So good inspo, good design inspo. But yeah, so as you can see here, because large gifts make such a huge difference in a donation campaign, obviously you want to kind of target people who seem to have a lot of money. And so the food bank in this case ran an affinity campaign targeting this top 10 charitable donor category, which pulls in people who are in the top 10% of capital investors in the US or have shown other indicators that they donate large amounts to charity. And this is based on their past donation behaviors online. So on the right, yeah, you can see the ads that they showed. And you can see, yeah, specifically the affinity audience that they targeted here on the left. And then for the email mapping campaign that they ran, they uploaded a list of about 20,000 email addresses that were associated with people who had previously donated to the organization. And then they were then able to target the people associated with those emails with ads as they were scrolling online, encouraging them to come back and give again. So again, this is kind of a great way to tap into or to expand your current audience by tapping into people who were previously in your audience but haven't engaged with you in a while. This mobile geofencing campaign, which was for their Adopt a Dairy Cow initiative. So the food bank had this initiative around delivering milk to neighbors experiencing food insecurity. So the idea is that you can kind of adopt a cow, which is obviously a big ticket item. And I looked at the website or the page on the site for this, and they have like a little adoption form and stuff. So they make it very cute. But one of the goals was to get people, to donate larger sums for this particular campaign. And so they geofenced specific towns and geographic locations that were more affluent. And this included Madison, which is in the top 10 most affluent towns in Wisconsin. So they were obviously pretty strategic about who they were targeting with this one, just because it is, adopting a cow is different than donating $5. So. And then as, remember that lookalike audiences have online behavior that resembles some segment of your current audience. So in this campaign, the food bank decided to include all of their website visitors as the sort of seed group. And from that, Feathr was able to generate an audience of 14,000 people, I think, net new people who had similar online behaviors and interests with those as those website visitors. And so the food bank was then able to serve ads to those new people online as they were scrolling. And so as we discussed earlier, the conversions won't happen if you don't nurture those new audience members and, kind of engage them and cultivate them over time. And so the donation value in this is a combined result of all of those campaigns that they ran to drive donations in 2023, not just the campaigns that we just looked at. But overall, you can see that the awareness campaigns drove a ton of new web traffic. So they had 542,000 new audience members sort of seeing their ads, coming to their site, aware of their organization, and they had 20,000 clicks to the site, and this was made up of new and existing audience members, but a lot of those new people were coming and clicking through to the site, and this resulted in almost $70,000 in donations, which is amazing. Cool. Our next example is Hope in a Future. So their mission is to help foster children reach their full potential and achieve their dreams, and we'll be looking at a donations campaign that they ran as well. So Hope in a Future maximized donations for this campaign by they ran 6 different affinity campaigns targeting wealthy people. So this included categories like this. So there's a bunch of different ones that have names like affluent parents, wealthy families, things like that. And then they also did some affinity targeting around people who had a history of making religious donations or donations to charities that were affiliated with a religious organization. And then you can see the ads here too, which are nice. And then they also ran a variety of geofencing campaigns to serve ads to people who had been at these specific locations. So they included a couple of churches, as you can see here. And, many people who attend church tend to kind of give to charities on a more regular basis. So I think that's the thinking there. They targeted places like the ballet and this arts center because people attending events like this might have more disposable income that they're willing to give. And then they also geofenced the Phoenix Zoo, an event at the zoo. And so I think this could be for the same reason. People who are, doing entertainment kind of things have some disposable income. And then I also think that maybe, people who are at the zoo might have kids and might be, maybe a little more inclined to donate to an organization that helps kids in need. So again, some strategic thinking in terms of what, the most relevant places would be to actually be capturing people. And then, you can see the results here. Again, lots of new web traffic, lots of new audience members reached. So 142,000 new people were seeing their ads. And they brought in $85,000, almost $86,000 in donations in 2023. So great work there too. Our next example is an association. So this is the American Society of Cataract and Refractive Surgery, and their mission is to empower anterior segment surgeons to improve the vision, outcomes, and quality of life of their patients through innovative approaches to education, advocacy, and philanthropy. And the campaign we're going to look at was their 2023 membership drive. So ASCRS members are a specialized group of ophthalmologists who focus specifically on front of eye surgery, which means basically that the hard part isn't figuring out who ASCRS wants to target. They kind of know exactly who their members need to be. It's about getting the attention of these people who are extremely busy, right? And so as you can see here, they went straight for their target audience by selecting industry categories that align with their member base. So doctor of optometry, optometrists, eye doctors' offices, they kind of selected these categories to serve ads to people in the industry. And I think the ad also just does a good job of being digestible and visually appealing, but also specific by mentioning anterior segment surgery. So that's obviously the specialization required to be a member. And I think it's great that they kind of included that up front. Like if you see this, you know that this is you, you know? Cool. And then this email mapping campaign is another great example of, you know, dipping into that past audience to expand your current one. So they uploaded a list of a little more than 8,000 email addresses of lapsed members, and they served them these ads as they were browsing the web. So again, with email mapping campaigns, you're serving ads to people as they're scrolling online, just like with retargeting, geofencing, those other display ad campaigns. But the benefit is that they don't need to have visited your website recently to see the ads because it's using the email address and not their website activity to serve them ads. So for many of these lapsed members, it had probably been a while since they'd come to the website. So this is a great way to reach people who might not be in your current tracked audience anymore and kind of bring them back into the fold. And then through the combination of campaigns that they ran to drive new memberships in 2023, ASCRS expanded their audience by almost 64,000 people. They got 66 new member signups for a conversion value of almost $28,000. And then this is my last example, and then I'll pass it over to Brock. So this is Quad City Symphony Orchestra. Their mission is to inspire, entertain, and engage the Quad City community through superb symphonic music, music education, and cultural leadership. And the event that we're going to be looking at is their 2023 Nightmare Before Christmas in concert event. Trying to acquire attendees for this concert. So for this one, search keyword campaign, QCSO uploaded a list of relevant keywords to target. I think there were just over 100, and they served ads to people who were within the geographic limits that they set and who had searched for one of the terms on the list. And so remember, like I said earlier, unlike Google Ads, which is the thing that moves you higher up on the search results page when someone's searching, right? Search keyword campaigns let you reach people with display ads where they are online, scrolling on Facebook, on CNN, wherever they are, after they've searched for one or multiple of your keywords. So that being said, this is something you can absolutely run in conjunction with Google ad campaigns. So that you're really showing up in as many ways as possible for the people that you want to attract, right? And a quick note on Google Ads. So if you are a 501c3 or and you have a Google ad grant, or you have ever considered applying for one, you will soon be able to manage your Google ad grant in Feathr. So you can track those campaigns in the same place as all of your other marketing campaigns right in Feathr and have more centralized reporting on all of your channels. So we're about to release this capability in Feathr, so definitely stay tuned for that. And I'll be doing another product webinar like this one in March to kind of talk about the Google ad grant, how it works to run that in Feathr, all of that. So definitely register for that if it sounds like it would be useful for you. If Rachel, if you could drop the link in the chat, that would be great. So go ahead and save your seat for that one if you are interested in learning more about running your Google ad grant in Feathr. Cool. And then for this affinity targeting campaign, they used purchase history data. So they pulled in data from 9 different affinity categories to try to reach the most relevant prospects for the Nightmare Before Christmas concert. And it was based mostly on ticket purchase history. So this included people who had an affinity for things like horror movies, musicals, family movies, Broadway and musical theater shows, things like that, since people with those interests seemed like they'd be likely to show interest in A Nightmare Before Christmas in concert. And then there's also this category of people here who had spent between $128 and $9,999 in arts and entertainment and music. And I know that seems like probably a huge range, but I think the ticket price for the Nightmare Before Christmas concert was just a little over $100. And so the assumption here was probably that anyone in this range could either swing the price of the ticket or it'd be kind of a drop in the bucket because they're used to spending a lot on arts and entertainment and shows like this. So it's a big range here, but they're capturing sort of a variety of people who would have the income to attend something like this. And then they also set some geographic filters on this campaign to only target people in nearby areas in Illinois and Iowa because it's a bi-state, it's on the bi-state line. And so they serve both of those states. And so they kind of targeted specific cities nearby. And then, yeah, this particular customer does just a really good job of segmenting her audience and tailoring her marketing and her messaging to the most relevant segments. And so a lot of her great results just stem from her using Feathr super well. Like she'll build groups based on shared interests or even attributes like age. So for example, I remember when I spoke to her for the Nightmare Before Christmas concert, she pulled in data on people who had shown interest in attending a Harry Potter and a Beauty and the Beast concert as well, because she thought, okay, I think there's going to be some like nostalgic component here for millennials. And so she targeted millennials and people who had attended one of those shows, just because, you know, there's definitely a similar vibe. So that, yeah, the nostalgic aspect there and kind of just tapping into like what you think your audience will be interested in the future based on what they've been interested in the past. So yeah, she just thinks really strategically about her audience, and I think her campaigns perform even better because of it. So I encourage anyone on here to do that wherever you can, you know, just kind of think about the nuances of who you're talking to and what they're actually interested in and how you can kind of segment your audience to speak more directly to people based on those interests. So yeah, this campaign performed super well, got new audience members, got new people aware of the orchestra, and yeah, more website traffic. And then they sold 196 tickets through these campaigns and earned over $22,000 in conversion value here. So yeah, great stuff. Cool. Well, I will now pass it over to Brock to go over AIA California.
So it's funny, as you were talking about those different affinity groups for Quad City Symphony, I was nodding along like, oh, I'm in that one. I'm in that one. I'm in that one.
Yep. Relatable.
All right, so the client campaign that I would like to talk about is for AIA California. This is the American Institute of Architects, and specifically their California chapter. Their mission is to harness the transformative power of architecture and design to address the greatest economic, environmental, and social challenges of our time. Now, more specifically for this campaign, it was entirely an awareness-based campaign, which is a lot of fun for me because my campaigns generally have some sort of ROI initiative attached to them. And this one is more specifically just to get the message out. And I had a blast with this one. So specifically for this campaign, the background for it is that climate action is a core value for the American Institute of Architects in California. And back in 2021, the organization declared a climate emergency, comprehensively integrating climate considerations into all of its programs, which are advocacy, education, and awards. So it became very climate focused in 2021 and has maintained that since. Now, specifically to what they're capable of doing, they recognize that because buildings generate 40% of global greenhouse gases, architects recognize that it's incumbent on them to act. So they exceed reduction standards set by California and advocate for additional tactics. So that's the background. But their campaign with us was twofold. First, to expand awareness on the emergency and how AIA is addressing it. And second, to also share strategies on greenhouse gas reduction in order to support our communities and make an impact. So the actual campaigns that we were running targeted 4 audiences specifically. And this first audience was elected officials. And I say was, however, I mean is because we are still in the preliminary processes of this campaign, but I do want to highlight the different targeting options that we have here and the creative ability that we have to target different audiences. So elected officials, specifically on the state level. So for this campaign, you can see the ad that we have for this. We are geofencing the state capitol, or we will be geofencing the state capitol while the capitol is in session. And also on top of that, we're running an affinity campaign for elected officials. And we have the geo filtering for that one set specifically to Sacramento, California, to target the state level elected officials. The second audience that we have for them is, Isa, if you would switch over to community activists on the next slide. With this one, it was a little easier because there's an affinity group built practically specifically for this one, local government interests. So people who are across the state of California and have expressed an interest in local governance. This is the ad for them. The third audience that we were trying to target is commercial developers, like building developers. And again, Feathr came through with a perfect affinity audience for us. Commercial building is the title of that audience. However, it is targeting developers. Like this affinity audience is developers. So just by setting a geo filter to California, we can target commercial developers in California and show them this ad, which is speaking directly to them. And lastly, my favorite one, and the one that I had the most fun with, because there's a little back and forth on the best way to target this group, homeowners. Now, there's lots of easy ways to target homeowners in Feathr, but a lot of those audiences are really large, and they might exceed the budget that, well, nothing exceeds the budget that you put into Feathr. I don't want to make it seem like that, but the audience group for homeowners in California is obviously, it's a massive audience. But we wanted to pare that down a little bit and determine how can we show our message to somebody who both owns a home and would be primed to act on that message. And we found this affinity, or it's actually an in-market category called home insulation in an affinity audience. So people who are shopping for home insulation that live in California will be seeing this ad. And I don't anticipate too many people shopping for home insulation that don't own a home. And I do anticipate that most people who are shopping for home insulation are going to be conscious of emissions and ecological conservation, because they're trying to improve the energy efficiency of their house, hence their purchase category. So this is, I think, the most creative way to target homeowners in California that are primed to see and appreciate our message. And I'm really happy about that one. Now, those are the awareness campaigns, but we also have some other targeting. First, we have industry and government geofencing, so targeting specific industry events and government organizations with our ads. And this is kind of a more broad ad at the bottom here that we're showing these different categories. A keyword campaign, which Isa has talked about for a few different campaigns. Retargeting, and not just website retargeting, but also retargeting people who have viewed the ads to continue showing them new, fresh ads, such as this one, which is different than the one that they would have viewed to enter that targeting in either of those four categories that I mentioned earlier. And then finally, email mapping to showcase all of this to some of their most valued members. This is, like I said, it was a really fun one for me to find the different targeting options available to us and after being presented with these 4 audiences that we wanted to target, being able to utilize so much of Feathr's capabilities to showcase or to develop ads and find the best ways to show them to our audiences. That was a blast, and that's why I wanted to talk about this one specifically.
I'm on mute, rookie move. Cool, thanks for that, Brock. So that concludes the examples that we have for today. I just saw that Rebecca asked in the group if we have any live trainings scheduled for sort of one-on-one trainings on building campaigns in Feathr. I know that our training team does run weekly webinars. Rachel, if you could drop the page, our webinar, our Feathr Live page into the chat, if you have a second to do that. You can see the trainings that are available to register for. Yeah, there we go. And so our training team does a variety of sort of 101 back to basics training on setting up different types of campaigns in Feathr. So definitely take a look at that and register for any that you think would be helpful for you. Yeah, it looks like we don't have any other questions. Feel free to drop one in if something comes to mind now. But as a reminder, we'll be sending the recording and the deck out after the webinar. So definitely keep an eye out. And if you like what you saw today and want to learn more, please drop a 1 in the chat and we will reach out to you with more information and a personalized walkthrough. So you can really kind of get into the details of how campaigns like this would apply to your organization and ask any questions you have. So drop a 1 if you'd like to learn more. Thanks everyone for joining today and take care.